All right. So Squid Game 2. Man, the hype around this is crazy. Netflix announced it's happening and people are losing it. The first season was wild. It wasn't just a show. It was a phenomenon. Now, the big question is, what's next? From what I've heard, Guy Hunn's coming back, but this time it's not about playing the games. He's on some vengeance mission, going after the people running the whole thing. That's a massive shift in tone. Season 1 was survival, every man for himself, but Season 2 feels like it's going to peel back the layers of the organization. Who's running these games? How deep does it go? That's the kind of stuff that could take this story to the next level. And the games, what do they do with them? Season 1 had that perfect mix of nostalgia and terror. Red light, green light, tug of war. It was so simple, but it hard because of what was at stake. Season 2 has to up the ante without going overboard. You don't want it to feel ridiculous. It's a fine line, man. Keep the tension, keep the stakes, but bring something fresh. I can't wait to see how they pull it off. Okay, so let's talk about the games. Season 1 was genius because it took things we all know, like marbles or the glass bridge, and turned them into nightmares. But for Season 2, they've got to innovate. How do you top that? What if they introduce games that are less about physical ability and more about your mind? Imagine puzzles where you have to outthink everyone else, or games that force people to cooperate but then tear them apart. That psychological aspect is what made Season 1 so gripping. You're not just watching people run or jump, you're watching them break down emotionally. I also think they could go bigger with the environments. The sets in Season 1 were amazing, like that bright pink staircase and the creepy playground vibe.
What if Season 2 gives us even crazier locations?
Maybe something surreal, like a game in total darkness or on water. They've got to keep that mix of weird and familiar, though, because that's what makes it hit so hard. So, Guy Hunn is back, and he's mad. At the end of Season 1, he's wrecked. Yeah, he wins, but at what cost? He doesn't even touch the money at first. That's how broken he is. Now, for Season 2, he's apparently coming back to take down the system. That's such an interesting arc. He went from being this desperate guy just trying to survive to someone who's actively fighting back. But here's the thing. How do you even fight something that big? The games aren't just random. They're a whole operation funded by the richest people on the planet. It's like trying to take down an underground Illuminati. What I love is the moral dilemma this sets up. Guy Hunn has to get dirty to fight these guys.
Does that make him any better than them? That's the kind of storytelling that gets people hooked because it's not black and white.
It's messy, and that's real. Now, the big mystery. Who's running the show? In Season 1, we saw the VIPs, these rich guys betting on people's lives like it's a sport. That's messed up, but they're not the top dogs. Someone's pulling the strings behind the scenes. Season 2 could really dive into this. Is it one person's? A group? How do they stay hidden? Think about the logistics of something like this. You've got massive arenas, hundreds of players, all this tech, and no one knows about it. That's wild. And the front man, this dude is fascinating. He's a former player, right? So how does someone go from almost dying in the game to running it? What's his deal? Season 2 could really dig into his backstory, and I think that's going to be huge. He's not just a villain, he's a product of the system, and that makes him way more interesting. What made Squid Game so powerful wasn't just the games. It was the message. The show is a brutal critique of society. Capitalism, inequality, debt. It's exaggerated, sure, but not by much. I mean, how many people are stuck in jobs they hate or drowning in debt just trying to survive? Season 2 has a chance to push this even further. What happens when the gap between rich and poor gets so massive that human life becomes entertainment? That's not even science fiction at this point. You look at Bill, you look at billionaires flying to space while people can't pay rent, and you think, yeah, I can see how this could happen. The best part is it doesn't preach. It just shows you this world and lets you draw your own conclusions. That's why it works. It's not telling you what to think. It's making you feel something.